shall we make a start then, as we're doing 3 cards? Now, you'll have to bear with me on the stenciling on the first one that I'm doing, because I've completely changed the colours, okay? The first one is based on the heart-shaped one that I did as a sample that was on TV and that Lisa showed last Friday. But I've completely changed the colours. That one was sort of coral beach and very pale, soft colours. And today's is blues. But I want to try and do it pale blues, so I'm using my white again, so fingers crossed it works. Let's just quickly run through what I'm using on the first card. Alright, I will be using some of the pastel dewdrops because I want to use the blue ones, and obviously I'm using the Rose Corner. I'm also using the nested stitched torn squares. On the one that I did for my sample, I used the scalloped edge squares, but I wanted to do this one a little bit different, so I've changed the frame up a little bit. Obviously used the nested hearts because I need to cut the heart shape, and I've also used the It's the Little Things scripted sentiments. Now on the one that I did for the sample, my stenciling was here. I'm going to do it a little bit different. I'm going to come down here this time. Okay, so let me get my stencils out and make sure that I can get this in the right place. So if I put stencil 1 down, and then I can place my heart where I think it should sit, so that I get my roses here. So I'll put that there. Then I'm going to take number, I think it's 7, and just make sure that my roses are where I want them to be, and that's going to be perfect. Okay, so I know it's a silicone mat and it shouldn't slip, but just in case I catch it, I am just going to tape it down a little bit, just to make absolutely certain that it doesn't move. Okay, right, so I'm going to start with my stenciling, and I'm going to start with Margarita, my all-time favourite green, and I'm going to stencil these leaves here. I'm going to do the same as I normally do, so that I've got 2 or 3 different shades of green, but I'm only going to try and use a couple of colours. So I'll come in here with my Margarita. I'm going to go reasonably heavy. Right, so that's my first layer. Layer 2 is more greenery. So what I'm going to do is I am going to go in with Margarita, but I'm going to go really quite a lot heavier on this one. So I'm going over this again so that I've got a really heavy layer, just to make sure that I've got 2 different shades of green. Yay! I love that you can get different shades with different pressures. I think that's brilliant, just brilliant. So these are tiny leaves, so I am just going to use a tiny little bit of that Summer Garden Magic, because I do love the colour, and it will just lift those out of all the other greenery. See? Then we're going to come on to the tiny flowers. Now with these tiny flowers, because my main roses are going to be sort of a blue base, I was undecided. I didn't want to do yellow because I don't know, I just wasn't feeling yellow. I am going to start with yellow, but I'm going to go over the top of it with sugar candy so that I get a nice peachy colour, but I'm not going to go too heavy with either colour, because obviously I want this to be a little bit on the pale side, because my blue roses are going to be quite pale. Right, so then I'm going to come on top of that with my sugar candy, so that's going to change those colours into a sort of a nice peachy colour. Didn't want to use Coral Beach because Coral Beach would be a little bit too pale, and I wanted to stay away from the colours that I'd used on the sample card. so that's why I've gone totally different. So that's those. Then I'm going to come in on top, probably again with sugar candy, so that it deepens those centres of those flowers. So I'm just going over the top of this again with that sugar candy, just to deepen up that sort of peachy colour, and then my little tiny flowers will be pink. I like that, I like that. So then we're coming on to our main flowers, if you like, our roses. Now I want these to be pale-ish, so I'm going to go in with white first. I might just do those tiny little flowers with a bit of pink to start with before I do the blue. And then I'm going to use my white. I'm going to put a layer of white down before I use the blue, because I want to use Surf's Up. But as I say, I don't want it to be particularly dark, because Surf's Up is quite a vibrant blue. So if I put my white base down first, like so, you can't really see it, but it is there, I promise. And then I can come in with that Surf's Up. Now I'm going to go quite light to start with, because obviously I don't want this to overpower the rest of the card. So I can always add some more blue, but obviously once it's down, you can't really take it away. So you can see where I'm holding the brush, really quite near the end, so that I'm not putting too much pressure on this ink colour. I think that'll do. So now I can come in here and use the same colour, or I could come in and use a different blue. I think I will actually. I'll put Surf's Up to one side, and I'm going to use the Coral Blush Shimmer, one of the interference inks from set 2. And I'm just going to start in the middle, again quite light. You can see where I'm holding the brush. I'm not going overly heavy, because I don't want it to be really dark. I just want a hint of colour, if you like. Obviously enough colour that you can see it, but I don't want it to sort of overpower the rest of the card. So let's just have a look and see a bit more, I think. And this is the beauty of starting off light. You start off really light, and then you can go back and add more colour and deepen it up if you want to. If you don't want to, you don't have to. I think I like that. I don't think I'm going to add any more. So these little sort of what look like stars here are the centres of all those little tiny flowers. And I think, what colour will I go with? I think I'll go back with Sugar Candy. But I'll use a really small brush so that I can get into those apertures and really go in quite deep with that colour, so that it stands out on top of those really pretty dainty little flowers. Just lift that off. Yeah, I like that. It's subtle. I like subtle. Right, so now I'm going to come in on my leaves and put in all those veins. Now I can either use Summer Garden Shimmer, or I can use Cobblestones. I think I'll use the Summer Garden Shimmer. I'll use a smaller brush, but I will take off quite a bit of the ink. So I don't want it to be overly heavy. Obviously I want it visible, but because everything else is sort of, you know, pale and subtle, you don't want to suddenly add loads of colour into those veins and make them stand out over and above everything else, otherwise they'll look silly. So just go in and add this. We can always go back and add a little bit more. You'll notice I'm taking the ink out of the lid rather than off the ink pad, so that I don't overly saturate that brush. Just lift that off, see what I think. A little bit more down here, not really heavy enough. So you can always add, you just can't take it away. So start light and add more if you need to. Obviously I want the veins to stand out, because otherwise it'd be pointless doing them like that. There you go. So I wanted this to sort of cascade downwards. So let's get rid of these brushes out of the way, and then I can lift that up. Oops. That's pretty, isn't it? But it just pops, it just comes to life when you pop it into the embossing folder. So I'm just going to line this up, line the roses up, the rest will follow. Okay, and then we'll just run it through the die cutting machine and it will just pop off that page. So if I take it out of the folder, look at that, isn't that fabulous? Isn't it beautiful? What a gorgeous, gorgeous set. So there you go, subtle, but I'm really pleased with the colours. I like the way that the little peachy ones sort of stand out. I like that. So if I take that away, I don't think I need that again. I'll keep it within reach just in case I do. And then we'll go to our card base. It's slightly smaller than a 6x6. Never understand why they call it a 6x6, but there you go. So here's my frames, and you can see that they fit beautifully on this 6x6 card, and I just think those are so quirky, so beautiful. I love them. I think they're ace. So I put my glue on. They put this first one flat, and then I'm going to 3D the second one, and then I'm going to 3D the heart in the second. Okay, I've put my T at the top so that I know which way up it goes. That way I'm not gonna mess it up. I'll pop that down there. I mean, I think the frames on their own are just fabulous. So let's pop this down. I know my T's at the top, so it's going in the right place. Okay, so then I wanted to put the heart on here, but I wanted the heart to sort of stand out a little bit more. Okay, so I thought what I would do is I would back it onto a heart. All right, now obviously if I'd have cut the same size heart, you're not going to see heart either side of the main piece, are you? So what I did was I cut my heart and then I cut it straight down the middle. Okay, and then all I'm going to do is line this up so that the point of the heart sits level with the point of the main heart. Here lines up with the point of that heart that's on the top. Okay, and then it's just a case of sort of sitting it where you're happy with it being. All right, so once you've lined it up, try not to move it again. Okay, so I think what I'll do is put the glue on the white heart. Adding quite a bit because obviously it's I don't want it to come away, do I? So you've got your heart added on the back, and then all you need to do is put your other one the other side so that those points meet at the bottom, and then just fan it out so that you've got heart either side of the white one. Okay, it's a little bit fiddly, but I think it's worth it. I've got a little bit of wiggle room with this glue, this Lisa Horton fabulous glue, so I know I've got time to just pull that out, fan that out a little bit so that you've got heart both sides. Okay, so you've got a heart shape both sides. I know you can't see any at the top, but it really wouldn't look right if you tried to do another heart and tried to add it at the top as well. So I just think it's just a nice effect. All right, so I am going to 3D that. and then I can pop that down on here. Okay, so it doesn't matter if it sits outside the white frame, because the blue will match the blue on the bottom frame. Okay, I like that. I think that's ace. Not because I've done it, I just think the effect is lovely. So now I've got my sentiment, and you've just got to make a decision now where you want it. Do you want it across the bottom? Do you want it up the top? Do you want it in the middle? I think I'll go in the middle, actually. I quite like that. And I'll 3D it as well. So do I go there? Do I go there? I think I'll go there. Okay, so I've put my sentiment down, and then all I need to do is just add my little dewdrops. I love these. They're so useful. And again, I'm only using 3 or 5. I always use an odd number. So 1 down there, and then 2 up the top. Last one. There. So you don't need much just to lift it from being a nice card to an extra special card. I really like that. I like the soft colours on it, and it looks totally different to the peachy one that I did, but equally as beautiful, I think. I like that. I'm really happy with that. So then I thought, well, I don't want to just do one. I would like to make more than one. So I thought, remember at the beginning of Monday's live, I showed you how to make the frame with the lattice, ornamental lattice set. So I thought, well, I might as well use it. So I've stuck them together, as you can see, and I've scored my line across the back, so that acts as my stand. All right. And then what I did was I took the stencil for number 7, the rose. So I've just used this piece, and I've literally used similar colours, orange and lemon. I've used it on the base, and I've used it around the frame, so it gives the frame some sort of interest. I don't know whether you can pick it up on the camera. You can see it here, just around the edge of the frame. And then I've used the rest of the dies that are in that ornamental lattice set and cut out the mats and layers. I just love this effect. I think it's fabulous. So then I stenciled my roses, and I've used similar colours, sort of lemons and oranges. So that's going to go up there. Okay, let's put that down. So that's going up the top there, like so. And then I used the Hello Love, this one. So that's the ornamental lattice, and that's the Hello Love set. And I've cut my words, and I've backed them onto a darker card. But I just wanted to sort of basically say you don't have to use black as your shadow. I've cut it in lemon, and I've backed it onto sort of a deeper shade of orange, but it's not a bright vivid orange. It's just a subtle shadow. Okay, so this is just going on here like so, probably down the bottom a little bit more. I just love the font on this. I think it's fab. So it's fancy, but it's not over the top fancy. Do you know what I mean? So then I'm going to use some little flat back pearls. These were some that Lisa bought out ages and ages and ages ago. I haven't got very many left now. So I used my pickup tool and stick these down. I went for green because obviously everything else is orange and yellow. So I wanted these to sort of stand out a little bit, but still tie in, so the green ties in with all the leaves on that stenciling. See, and then when you stand it up, your back piece of your lattice will stand it up perfectly. I think that's really, really cool. I like that. I like that a lot. So then I thought this morning, I really would like to do 3 cards. So I thought I'll do a DL. So I cut a frame using the Slimline Loops and Bubbles frame. Obviously there are a lot of DL frames that you could use as your sort of your base around the edge, and I've used sort of a light grey card, but it's a grey that's got a bit of a buff sort of colour to it, so it's not grey, okay. So I've used that, and then I've also used my favourite foliage set, the large foliage, and I've also used the Rose Garden stencil, okay. So in the background here you can see my stenciling, and all I've done is just stencil this rose here in the middle using the same colours that I've used on my flowers, alright. And I've done the leaves green, but it's so subtle you can hardly see it. If I lift it up a bit you can probably see it a little bit better. There you go. Yeah. So then I thought, well, I don't want to use the whole corner again. So I've used my leaves from the large foliage, and then I've just cut the roses out, and they're so easy to cut out. It's really easy to fussy cut them, and I've done them twice. So this is going to sit like this, and this one is going to sit up the top like this, okay. So I didn't want to do this bit. I just wanted to use something else for my foliage instead. So I've cut my leaves in 2 shades of green, and then I've done some little bit of inking. You just put a little bit of using your marker pens or something, just a few lines up the leaves and then a white line on the top, and I think it just lifts the foliage a little bit. And then I've shaped them as well, and then these are going to sit. Now I have sort of worked out where these are going to go roughly. So these are going to go here. I'm not going to put my flowers down yet. And then I also cut from that set this little one here, but I also did it in green. But then what I added was some of the Super Sparkle flatback gems, and these were the In the Garden set. I think there were 3 in a set. There was In the Garden, a black and blue, and maybe silver and gold. So that is going to sit in the middle there. Okay, so if I put my leaves down first, so 3D glue gel just on the back of the leaves, because I don't need to put glue on the actual stem because my rose will hold my stems down. Okay, so add my glue. Let's put these down first. So this little one here, I said was going under here. So let's pop that there, down a bit, like that. And then this one is going up here. So it's coming out from the middle of those flowers. Now you can see I've cut the stems, because when you cut these, if I show you the one that I've cut, I always cut more than I need. So when you get your stems here, I've just cut them down so that I can actually sight them behind my flowers, okay. And then this is just going to sit on the top, but I'm not 3Ding this because it's a little bit fiddly. I've already stuck my gems on, and then this is going to sit in the middle here, and I don't mind it sitting on top of those leaves, okay, because, well, things sit in front of leaves, don't they? Now I might not be able to see all my gems when the flowers are down, but I don't mind. So then I've put my 3D pads on the back of my flowers, okay, so I'm going to pop that down there, and because I've used 3D glue gel and Lisa's glue, I have got a bit of wiggle room just to manipulate these and put them where I want them. I think they look okay, more or less, where they are. like so. And then I've just got to do the other end. I'm going to work from the top because I find it easier. So let's pop that one out, and you'll notice that these are darker green and these are lighter green, and the lighter sort of branch went with the darker leaves and the darker branch is going with the lighter leaves. Excuse me. Just to change it up a little bit really. So let's put my 3D glue gel on these leaves. So this is going up here, like so. So I'll put my first lot of leaves down here. Like that. I've got my 3D pads on the back of here, ready. And then the second set of leaves over here, like so. Doesn't matter if they're hanging off this bit of the frame, as long as they're not outside your card, you'll be fine. And then we can just add a little bit of glue onto the branch. Okay, so I'll just take the pads off here. Now you see where these are lifted, don't worry about that, because your pads on your flowers will hold that in place anyway. So that can go over there. Now you can see that I've sort of hidden the gem there a little bit, but I don't mind. I really don't mind. So then I've just got a tiny little sentiment for the middle. Simple, no drop shadow, because I don't think it needs it, because you've got interest in the background anyway. And if you add too much sort of detail to what you're adding on top of your shadow, like top of your stenciling rather, then you're not going to make sure I got it up the right way. You're just going to detract from what's behind it. Just make sure it's straight. Okay, so you've got 3 different cards with the same stencil set, but 3 totally different cards. So there you go. There's my 3 cards for today. So make sure I get them all in shot. You'll be able to see them all, won't you? That's it for today. Take care of yourselves. Thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. Take care now. Bye.